Could the key to preventing diseases like cancer and diabetes be hidden in the myths we've accepted about exercise? Join me as we explore the eye-opening research of Professor Daniel Lieberman that challenges everything you thought you knew.
All right, let's dive into human evolution and exercise and all that good stuff. You know how we've been talking about trying to find that balance between staying active and what our bodies actually need?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to explore all that with insights from Daniel Lieberman. He's that Harvard evolutionary biologist whose interview you shared.
Right. What's so cool about Lieberman's work is that he doesn't just stay in the lab. He's out there traveling the world, observing how different people live and move. He spent time with the Tarahumara in Mexico, those amazing long-distance runners. And he's worked with hunter-gatherer communities in Kenya, too, like really getting down to how humans were designed to move.
Okay, so let's get into this exercise paradox that Lieberman talks about. He had this realization while he was with the Tarahumara. He realized that the way we exercise today, like going to the gym, counting our steps, it's kind of strange when you think about it from an evolutionary perspective.
Yeah, for most of human history, being active wasn't a choice. It was essential for survival. Hunting, gathering, farming, that's how our ancestors got food. Running on a treadmill just for fun, that was unheard of.
It makes you think, huh? Especially when you consider your own fitness journey. You're constantly on the move. But is it because you have to or because you genuinely want to?
That's a really good question. What really motivates us to move? Is it societal pressure or a desire to look a certain way? Or do we actually enjoy being active?
Interesting. And Lieberman also debunks some common exercise myths. Like we always hear, we need 8 hours of sleep.
Right. But Lieberman says, hold on, he studied hunter-gatherers who don't have all the distractions of artificial light and technology. They average 6 to 7 hours a night. So it turns out the ideal amount of sleep varies by the person and their age.
So 8 hours isn't a rule for everyone.
Nope, not at all.
What about the idea that sitting is the new smoking? I hear that one everywhere.
It's not actually the sitting itself. It's more about sitting for long periods without getting up. And get this, hunter-gatherers actually sit just as much as people in Western societies, but they get up and move around a lot more frequently.
So even those little bursts of movement can help.
Exactly. It's about making movement a natural part of your day.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And that 10,000 steps goal that we all hear about, what about that?
Well, Lieberman says that comes from a Japanese pedometer marketing campaign from back in the 60s. No science behind it at all.
Really?
Yeah. While 10,000 steps can be a good goal, it's not some magic number. The benefits actually level off around 7,000 to 8,000 steps.
So all that worry about getting to 10,000 steps, maybe I should add another donut. But really, Lieberman's point is that any movement that gets your heart rate up and works your muscles is good.
Exactly. It's not about obsessing over numbers. It's about finding ways to be active that you enjoy and making it a part of your life.
Lieberman's research really emphasizes that we evolved to be active throughout our lives. He even argues that the idea of retirement, where people become a lot less active, can be bad for both physical and mental health.
Yeah, it's interesting how that goes against our cultural norms. We think of retirement as kicking back and relaxing, but our bodies really need activity and challenges.
It's true. And Lieberman himself has shifted his focus to strength training as he's gotten older to fight muscle loss. Sarcopenia, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's a good point. The type of exercise we need changes as we age. Strength training becomes even more important to keep our muscles and bones strong.
And, I've noticed how some people decline pretty quickly after they retire or lose a partner.
That's a good observation. It often comes from less physical activity and the emotional impact of those life changes. It can create this downward spiral of less mobility and sometimes even depression.
And Lieberman challenges conventional thinking here. He argues that a lot of the diseases we associate with aging, like heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, they aren't inevitable. He believes our modern lifestyles make them worse.
Yeah, his evolutionary perspective really comes through here. By understanding how our bodies evolved to move, we can make better choices to try and prevent those diseases.
Okay, get ready for this. Lieberman says that in the U.S., only 3% of the healthcare budget goes towards prevention, even though 75% of doctor visits are for things that could have been prevented.
Wow, that's shocking.
It is. It really shows how our healthcare system focuses on treating diseases after they happen instead of stopping them in the first place.
Right.
And he also points out that physical activity significantly reduces the risk of a lot of cancers. Women who are physically active have a 30–50% lower risk of breast cancer, for example.
It's interesting because we tend to think of diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's as just part of getting older. But Lieberman's suggesting that they're largely preventable if we change our lifestyles, including getting regular physical activity.
It's a pretty radical idea. It challenges how we think about aging and what we think is unavoidable.
It definitely makes you rethink things and
Right.
maybe take a more proactive approach to our health.
Okay, now Lieberman doesn't just focus on individual choices. He talks about this concept he calls the comfort crisis, which I think is super relevant, especially with your plantar fasciitis.
Oh, yeah.
The comfort crisis is about how we often prioritize comfort and convenience, but it can end up hurting our health in the long run. Think about it. Are we sacrificing our well-being for short-term comfort?
Interesting.
And remember how you've been struggling with plantar fasciitis. Lieberman suggests that your supportive shoes, while they're comfy, might have actually made your foot muscles weaker over time, which made you more likely to get injured.
Oh, that's a good point. Those shoes kind of became a crutch. They kept my foot muscles from doing their job.
Exactly. And what does he recommend? He says to gradually transition to minimalist shoes. The idea is to strengthen those foot muscles and prevent future problems.
So by challenging our bodies a little bit and getting out of our comfort zones, we can build up resilience and avoid issues later on.
And the comfort crisis goes beyond just shoes. It's everywhere. We take the elevator instead of the stairs, drive instead of walk, order takeout instead of cooking. We're always looking for the easy way out, even if it means our health suffers in the long run.
Yeah, it's about noticing those patterns and making choices that are good for us in the long term, even if it means a little discomfort now.
Lieberman doesn't just stop at individual choices either. He wants to see changes in society to encourage more physical activity. It's about moving from personal responsibility to action as a whole group.
Okay, so like what kind of systemic changes to make it easier for everyone to be active?
He has some cool ideas. Like instead of banning sugary drinks outright, which people often resist, he proposes a sugar tax. Use economics to nudge people towards healthier options.
Interesting. So no more soda.
Well, maybe less soda. Another suggestion is promoting healthy foods the same way we advertise unhealthy ones. When was the last time you saw a broccoli commercial that made you crave a salad?
Never. That's a good point. We're bombarded with ads for processed foods and sugary drinks. Healthy options don't get the same attention.
Exactly. And to make exercise more appealing, Lieberman suggests promoting things like dancing. Fun and engaging way to move and connect with others.
So it's not all about willpower and discipline. It's about finding activities that are enjoyable that make us want to move.
Right. He even thinks medical school should focus more on prevention, giving doctors the tools to guide their patients towards healthier choices.
Imagine a healthcare system that's more about preventing diseases than just treating them. That would be huge.
It would be a big change. Now let's talk about this real-world example Lieberman brings up. The CEO of the Bjorn Borg Company, the sports apparel brand. He requires all employees to exercise during a specific sports hour every week.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it sparked a lot of debate about whether employers should be involved in their employees' health and well-being. Some people think it's overstepping boundaries, that companies shouldn't tell people what to do outside of work.
Yeah, you don't want it to feel controlling.
But others say it creates a healthy work environment. It could lead to happier employees, better productivity, and even people staying with the company longer. Imagine how it could affect teamwork and camaraderie, especially now that so many people work remotely.
That's a good point. It's a really interesting case study that brings up a lot of questions.
It does. At my company, we don't make people exercise.
Oh.
But we do encourage and support employee-led fitness and social groups. We offer resources, funding, even time off to participate.
That's a great way to support employees without being too strict.
Yeah.
You're giving them the power to take care of their health and providing what they need to succeed.
All right, let's tackle another myth that Lieberman busts, the idea that running is bad for your knees. I'm sure you've heard that one.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
It just won't go away.
Yeah.
While running can make existing arthritis worse, there's no proof that it causes arthritis. Actually, being active, including running, can help keep your joints healthy. Lieberman explains that humans evolved to run on the balls of our feet, not our heels, like most runners do today. This barefoot running style puts less stress on the knees.
His research on barefoot running has been really influential. He found that the cushioned heels of modern running shoes actually encourage us to land on our heels, which can be harder on our joints.
But he's careful to say that people shouldn't change their running style too quickly. If you want to try a more barefoot style, do it gradually to avoid problems with your calves and Achilles tendon. It's all about listening to your body and making changes slowly.
It's a good reminder that we can learn from our evolutionary past. But we also have to respect our body's limits and make adjustments carefully.
Now let's talk about motivation. It's a big struggle for a lot of us, myself included. Lieberman has some good insights. He sees exercise as a skill that you can develop just like any other skill.
That's a good way to think about it. It means anyone can learn to enjoy and benefit from movement. It doesn't matter if you're naturally athletic or not. It's about building a skill over time.
He admits, though, that it takes time and effort to get to the point where you actually enjoy exercise. It's not going to happen overnight.
You need to be patient and find ways to make movement a regular part of your life.
And Lieberman believes that connecting with others and having accountability are key to staying motivated. Finding a running buddy, joining a class, or even making a commitment contract can really help.
Those strategies tap into our need for connection. They also give us support and accountability, which can be really helpful when we're not feeling motivated.
And he stresses that something is always better than nothing. Start small, be patient with yourself, and find ways to make movement fun, something you look forward to.
That's a really positive message. It's about meeting yourself where you are and taking those small steps towards a healthier and more active life. No judgment, just progress.
And speaking of motivation, Lieberman ended the interview with a thought-provoking question.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
He asked, what's one thing in your life that causes you the most friction or discomfort? And how can you change or fix it? It really got me thinking.
Yeah, me too. It makes you think about the things that are holding you back.
He talked about how he struggles with comparing himself to others, which makes him feel either proud or jealous. He knows it's a bad habit that keeps him from being happy.
It's so true. We often make ourselves unhappy by comparing ourselves to other people. We focus on what we don't have or what others have instead of appreciating our own strengths and accomplishments.
Right, and he's trying to overcome that habit and focus on his own journey, which I think is really inspiring.
It's about shifting from competition to self-acceptance and recognizing that everyone is on their own path, going at their own pace.
Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to share a few more of Lieberman's insights about physical activity, especially in the U.S. The statistics are pretty eye-opening.
Yeah, they really make you think about how far we've moved away from how we were meant to move as humans.
He said that only 50% of Americans ever exercise, ever, and only 20% meet the minimum activity guidelines from the World Health Organization.
Wow. So basically a nation that's mostly inactive, not getting the movement our bodies need. We weren't designed to sit all day.
He even said, we're becoming a nation of couch potatoes,
Huh.
and the rest of the world is following our lead.
It's a global trend, with more people living in cities, technology advancing, and everyone wanting comfort and convenience. We're always looking for ways to make life easier, but it often comes at the expense of our health.
It's true. But even with these trends, Lieberman is still optimistic. He believes that by understanding our evolutionary past and making choices to prioritize movement, we can turn things around and get healthier.
So there's still hope.
Absolutely. His book, Exercised, is a call to action. It encourages us to rethink how we approach physical activity and create a world where movement is just a natural part of life.
It sounds like a great read.
It's definitely on my list. It seems like a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the connection between human evolution, exercise, and health.
It explores how our modern lifestyles affect our bodies and minds. And it gives practical advice on how to live a more active life. It's not just about the gym. It's about making movement a part of every day.
So to bring this deep dive to a close, I wanted to go back to Lieberman's challenge. The one about finding those areas in our lives that cause friction or discomfort. It really stuck with me.
Yeah, it makes you look at your habits, your choices, your surroundings, and see if you're creating unnecessary problems for yourself.
For me, it's about noticing when I choose comfort over long-term well-being. Like taking the elevator instead of the stairs or grabbing a processed snack instead of a piece of fruit.
It's about becoming aware of those patterns and making small changes to choose things that are good for our health and happiness.
So here's something for you to think about. What part of your life is causing you the most friction or discomfort? What little changes can you make to change that dynamic? It could be your physical space, your daily routine, your mindset, anything.
Lieberman's work shows us that we have the power to shape our own health and well-being through the choices we make every day. We don't have to be victims of our circumstances. We can create a life that supports our physical, mental, and emotional health.
And remember, any movement is better than none. Start small, be kind to yourself, and find ways to make movement enjoyable and energizing.
It's about using movement to transform our lives one step at a time. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We can support each other, share our struggles and successes, and build a culture that celebrates movement in all its forms.
That's a wrap for today's deep dive. We hope this exploration of human evolution, exercise, and health has given you some new ideas and inspired you to live a more active life.
Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about making progress. Start where you are and take small steps each day to move your body, nourish your mind, and connect with others.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep moving, and keep diving deep.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good reminder that we don't need to be perfect. Every little bit we do makes a difference. It all adds up.
It's about motivation. Lieberman finished the interview with a really interesting question I thought we could talk about.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
He asked, what's one thing in your life that causes you the most friction or discomfort? And how can you change or fix it? It really made me stop and think.
Yeah, it makes you think about what's holding you back in life.
He was open about how he struggles with comparing himself to others. He said it makes him feel either proud or jealous. And he knows that's a bad habit that keeps him from being truly happy.
It's so true. We often create our own unhappiness by comparing ourselves to others. We focus on what we're missing or what others have, instead of being grateful for what we do have and what we've achieved.
Exactly. And he's actively trying to break that habit and just focus on his own journey. I find that really inspiring.
It's a good reminder to shift our perspective from competition to self-acceptance. Everyone's on their own path, moving at their own speed.
Before we finish up, I wanted to mention a few more things Lieberman shared about physical activity, particularly in the U.S. The statistics are pretty alarming.
Yeah, they really highlight how far we've strayed from how we were designed to move as humans.
He mentioned that only half of Americans ever exercise, ever. And only 20% meet the basic activity recommendations from the World Health Organization.
Wow, so we're talking about a nation that's mostly inactive, not getting the movement our bodies need. We weren't meant to be sitting all day.
He even went as far as to say that we're becoming a nation of couch potatoes.
Wow.
And that the rest of the world is starting to follow our lead.
It's a global trend with urbanization, technology, and the desire for comfort and convenience. We're always trying to make things easier, but sometimes it comes at the cost of our health.
True. But despite these trends, Lieberman is optimistic. He believes that if we understand our evolutionary history and choose to prioritize movement, we can reverse course and improve our health.
So there's still hope.
Definitely. His book, Exercised, is a call to action. It urges us to rethink our relationship with physical activity and create a world where movement is a natural part of everyday life.
It sounds like a great read.
It's definitely on my to-read list. I think it's essential reading for anyone interested in the connection between human evolution, exercise, and health.
Yeah, it explores how our modern way of life affects our bodies and minds, and it offers practical tips on how to incorporate more movement into our lives. It's not just about working out at the gym, it's about finding ways to move throughout the day.
To wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to Lieberman's challenge. The one about identifying the areas in our lives that cause friction or discomfort. That really stuck with me.
It makes you look at your habits, your choices, even your environment, and think about if you're creating unnecessary problems for yourself.
For me, it's about recognizing those moments when I choose comfort over what's good for me in the long run. Like taking the elevator instead of the stairs, or reaching for that bag of chips instead of some fruit.
It's about noticing those patterns and making small changes to choose things that support our health and happiness.
So here's something for you to think about. What aspect of your life is causing you the most friction or discomfort? And what small changes can you make to address that? It could be anything. Your physical environment, your routine, your mindset.
Lieberman's work reminds us that we have the power to shape our own health and well-being by the choices we make. We don't have to be controlled by our circumstances. We can create a life that supports our physical, mental, and emotional health.
And remember, any movement is better than no movement. Start small, be patient with yourself, and find ways to make movement enjoyable and energizing.
It's about using movement to transform our lives step by step. And remember, you're not alone in this. We can support each other, share our struggles and triumphs, and create a culture that embraces movement in all its forms.
That's all for this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the fascinating world of human evolution, exercise, and health with us.
Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. Start where you are and take small steps each day to move your body, nourish your mind, and connect with others.
Until next time, keep diving deep. You know, it's really inspiring how Lieberman combines science with personal experience. He's so passionate about helping others. He even dedicated his book to his mom, who had trouble staying active as she got older. It reminds us to be kind to ourselves and others who might be struggling.
It's true. We're all in this together. Shame and judgment never help. They just create barriers. What we need is support, understanding a community that lifts us up.
And before we go, Lieberman also had this interesting perspective on the idea of friction, the kind that holds us back. He said that even though we often try to get rid of friction in our lives, some friction can actually be a good thing.
That's an interesting thought. If we never face any resistance, how can we grow stronger? How can we learn and adapt?
He gave the example of lifting weights. If there was no resistance, our muscles wouldn't get stronger. It's that push against the weight that makes them grow. And it's the same with challenges in life. Overcoming obstacles, even small ones, makes us mentally and emotionally tougher.
So maybe instead of always looking for the easiest way, we should embrace some challenges as opportunities to grow. It's about finding that balance where friction helps us change in a positive way instead of just frustrating us.
This whole deep dive has really been eye-opening for me. I hope it has been for you too. Lieberman's insights have made me question so many of my assumptions about exercise, aging, and the power of movement.
It's been a fascinating journey, exploring how what we learned from our evolutionary past can inform the choices we make today. And it all comes down to this movement isn't just about physical health. It's about our overall well-being. It's about feeling alive and connected to our bodies and the world around us.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final thought. What small step can you take today to bring more movement into your life? Maybe it's going for a walk in nature, dancing to your favorite music, or just stretching for a few minutes.
Every step counts, no matter how small. Like Lieberman says, anything is better than nothing. Let's move forward together and embrace movement as a source of joy, resilience, and a life well lived.
That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of human evolution, exercise, and health with us. Until next time, keep diving deep.